The recent headlines concerning Lee Junho, also spelled Lee Juno, member of the K-pop group 2PM and prominent actor, have ignited renewed attention to the murky boundary between celebrity wealth, real estate acquisition, and tax obligations. At the heart of the story, investigations launched by the Seoul Regional Tax Office, large property transactions reportedly linked to his name, and public suspicion of tax evasion, allegations which his agency abruptly denied. The question now stands, is Lee Junho under valid suspicion of wrongdoing, or is this another case of celebrity rumors spiraling out of control? The trigger, investigation and property holdings. In December 2024, several Korean media outlets reported that Lee Junho was subject to an intensive tax investigation by the Seoul Regional Tax Office's Investigation Bureau 2. Sports Chosen +3 Pinkvilla +3 Okpop +3 The investigation reportedly stemmed from a non-routine comprehensive audit of high-value asset owners in the entertainment field. The audit specifically focused on claimed discrepancies between tax filings and real estate holdings. One of the key pieces of the puzzle, Lee Junho's ownership of high-value real estate investments. Reports indicated that through his family corporation, JF Company, he had purchased a 4-story commercial building in Sinsadong, Gangnam-gu, Seoul. The transaction value reported at around 17.5 billion KRW. Sports Chosen +1 Some observers flagged that the purchase was made under a corporate entity rather than his own personal name, which triggered speculation about the possibility of reduced tax rates via corporate ownership versus personal capital gains taxes. The report suggested that the tax office was probing whether the structure was used to minimize tax liability. The allegations of tax evasion. The core allegation circulating is that Lee Junho may have underreported taxable income, misclassified property ownership, or otherwise leveraged legal structures to reduce his tax burden. These are not unique suspicions in the Korean entertainment industry. Wealthy individuals, especially entertainers with large real estate portfolios, often draw scrutiny under the artists and corporation audit category. The logic behind skepticism lies in the opacity of income sources, performances, endorsements, overseas revenues, plus the use of corporate vehicles in real estate investment. Media outlets have described the audit as having the characteristics of targeting asset-rich celebrities and asserted that Lee's case was flagged because of his multiple high-priced properties. MK Company KR+1 Because the property purchase occurred via a family corporation, questions arose as to whether the relevant taxes, acquisition tax, property tax, and corporate income tax, were appropriately calculated. Some reports implied that the tax office believed Lee's taxation had been lower than what the market value warranted. Agency response: denial and compliance. In response to the media coverage, Lee Junho's agency, JYP Entertainment, issued a public statement on December 26, 2024. Sumpy.com+1 The statement clarified that Lee had undergone the audit as part of a non-routine comprehensive audit of artists with corporate business and emphasized that the investigation was not prompted by suspicions of tax evasion. According to the agency, Lee had filed his taxes faithfully under the advice of a tax representative and any additional tax liabilities were promptly settled. The statement asserted, Lee always abides by the law and legal procedures and has never engaged in intentional tax evasion. Korea Jinggangdali joins.com+1. The agency further explained that the tax differences arose from perspectives of the tax authorities and Lee's tax advisor and were not the result of deliberate wrongdoing. What the facts show and what they don't. Confirmed facts. Lee Junho was audited by the Seoul Regional Tax Office in September 2023 as part of a non-routine corporate artist investigation. Okpop+1. He owns significant real estate assets, including a commercial building valued at approximately 17.5 billion KRW in Gangnam and earlier high-value office-style properties in Cheongdam-dong. Sports Chosen +1. His agency says additional taxes were indeed paid following the audit. Korea Jinggangdali joins.com+1. What remains unconfirmed. No official public statement confirms an allegation of intentional tax evasion filed against Lee Junho. The tax office has not publicly accused him of criminal wrongdoing. The investigation was described as part of a planned audit. The exact amount of additional taxes paid has not been fully disclosed publicly. There is no evidence in public media that charges have been filed. The context: why celebrities are under the microscope. In South Korea, entertainers with large incomes and real estate assets often face scrutiny because of perceived tax avoidance risk. The tax authorities reserve special audit categories for artists owning corporations/high-asset entertainers, under which transactions like corporate property acquisition, overseas income, trust transfers, and endorsements are examined. The rationale: to ensure that all taxable income is reported and corporate vehicles are not purely used to reduce tax burden. Lee Jun-ho's case fits the pattern: high assets, corporate investment, large property purchase, and a non-routine audit. The fact of the audit does not, by itself, imply wrongdoing, but it does raise questions about tax practices, especially when large sums and high-value assets are involved. The reputation risk and public perception. For a celebrity of Lee Jun-ho's stature, known not only for his musical career with 2PM but for leading roles in popular dramas, the court of public opinion can often be more damaging than official charges. Tax evasion allegations carry stigma, especially in South Korea, where public expectation around integrity is high for entertainers. Rumors of buying property via family corporation or reduced tax via corporate deal are enough to tarnish reputation. The agency's swift denial reflects an attempt to manage reputational risk. By emphasizing that the audit was routine and the additional taxes paid, they aim to quash narrative of wrongdoing. But in the absence of full transparency, speculation continues. Possible scenarios. Minor discrepancy. Resolved. The most benign scenario is that the audit uncovered minor mismatches or different interpretations of property/asset classification, which were resolved by additional payment. This is what the agency claims, that no intentional evasion occurred, only perspective differences. Tax optimization. Legal but controversial. Another possibility: asset acquisition via a corporate entity may have been within legal bounds but used sophisticated tax planning strategies. This may not constitute evasion, strictly speaking, but could raise ethical concerns and public scrutiny. Intentional evasion and proven. At the more serious end, if investigations reveal deliberate misreporting or hiding of income/assets, then formal charges could follow. There is currently no public evidence of charges against Lee Jun-ho, but the audit may still uncover findings. Why the matter remains unresolved. Confidentiality of audits. Tax audits and investigations are often confidential until charges are filed. Unless the tax office publicly declares wrongdoing, much of the detail stays behind closed doors. Complex asset structures. Because property transactions can involve corporations, trusts, family entities, and accounting strategies, it may take time to interpret whether tax differentiation was legitimate or exploitative. Media versus fact. Many of the circulating articles use terms like possible tax evasion, under investigation, high-value real estate flagged. These do not equal formal charges, but create a perception gap. Celebrity scrutiny. Celebrity cases draw more speculation. The presence of an audit in the public spotlight often triggers sensational headlines, which can distort nuance. What this means for Lee Jun-ho's career. From a career standpoint, Lee Jun-ho must navigate this allegation carefully. While no formal charge has been announced, the presence of a public audit can affect endorsements, public image, and fan trust. Should further findings emerge, projects may be impacted. On the other hand, if the matter is resolved quietly, with additional tax paid and no criminal findings, the damage may be limited. However, the broader lesson for public figures in Korea is clear. Transparency in asset and tax affairs is becoming more critical as public scrutiny grows. Final verdict: truth or gossip? At present, the situation is best described as under investigation, rather than confirmed wrongdoing. The facts indicate Lee Jun-ho underwent a tax audit, owns substantial assets, and settled tax discrepancies. His agency denies any intentional evasion. Therefore, while the suspicion of tax evasion is publicly circulating, it remains unsubstantiated in terms of criminal charge or admission of guilt. Whether this evolves into something more serious remains to be seen. For now, the audit is real, the additional taxes are paid, and the intentional wrongdoing claimed in media remains unconfirmed. Until the tax office or judiciary releases clear findings, the allegations remain exactly that, allegations. This overview presents the full scope of the issue: the reported audit, the property holdings, the agency response, the public context, and the current status. It delivers a clear picture of what is known, what is not, and how the matter may evolve, allowing the viewer to understand both the gravity and the uncertainty of the situation.